Payment design is nothing but determining the each and every layer of the payment. So it depends on how many layers, it depends on the types of payments we are going to use. So also it has to serve the traffic for the anticipated design period. For example, if the design period may be for 10 years or maybe for 15 years like that. So before itself we need to design, we need to imagine how much traffic loads may be coming on to the payment structure, and based on that we need to design the payment. So it depends on so many factors. What are the factors means? Some factors are intensity of traffic wheel loads and repetitions, temperature conditions, rainfall, humidity, frost, drainage conditions, subgrade soil strength. Subgrade soil strength means whatever the natural subgrade is there, strength of that subgrade, it also depends on the payment strength. So properties of materials used. So each layers, I told you we are going to use different materials, and the criteria of mixed design and also economic considerations. So on all these factors, our payment design will be depending. So that is about your first unit here. The factors affecting the payment design we are going to learn here. So before going into the actual topic, let us see the functions of payments. What is the main function of the payment? What is the use of a payment means? Main function is it should provide a firm, strong and also smooth and skid resistant surface for vehicles with low noise generation in all seasons. This you need to remember first. So the first point is, if, a payment, the main function of a payment is it should provide a firm, strong, smooth and skid resistant surface, okay, for vehicles with low noise generation in all seasons. Also, they receive and distribute traffic wheel loads safely over a larger area of the subgrade so that stresses and strains are kept within the allowable limits. So, what is the meaning of this point here? As I already told you, the wheel loads are distributed in a conical format and in a cone like format with an angle of 45 degrees. That means in the topmost layer, there is more stress induced. Coming to the next layer, the stress is reduced because it is distributed in a larger area when compared to the top layer. When coming to the last layer, that is your natural subgrade, it is distributed even more larger area. So the stress will be reduced, completely reduced when coming to the subgrade. So that is the main purpose of your payment. The top layer, it will take the maximum load and it will distribute equally to the lower layers, and finally onto a larger area in the on the natural subgrade. Okay? That is the main function of a payment. So the basic structure of a payment comprises of the bound surface or wearing surface, which transmits the wheel loads onto subsequent layers safely. So these loads, they need to be transferred to the below layers safely. Under a wheel load, the surface force experiences different types of stresses. There may be compressive stresses, tensile stresses, and there may be at the top, there may be compressive stresses, and at the bottom, there may be tensile stresses that you need to observe here. And it is distributed further onto a bottom layers in the form of a cone having an angle of 45 degrees. So these points you need to remember. So if you observe in this figure, you can see this is the load coming onto the wheel. The wheel load, it is transferring to the pavement surface. That means on the topmost layer. And from the topmost layer, at the point of contact, you can see here, you can observe here the point of contact between the wheel and the pavement surface. That point of contact, compressive stress is produced. And in the next layer, tensile stress on the top side, and at the bottom side compressive stress. Same like here also on the bottom side compressive stresses are developed for each and every layer. And if you see here, it is distributed with a cone of angle 45 degrees. And the first layer you call it as wearing course. It may be bituminous or cement or concrete. That means depending on the type of pavement we are going to construct, it will vary accordingly. And next one is your base course. It may be granular course. Next one is your subbase course. It is also granular. The last one is your subgrade. So all these are the different layers of a pavement structure. Next, coming to the subgrade. Here, subgrade is very important for us in the pavement construction. Why? Because it is a natural ground surface. We cannot change it. So whatever the natural surface is there, on that only we need to construct our pavement. So it will experience so many stresses like compressive stresses over the conical spread area with lower intensity as compared to the top surface. I already explained to you. Top surface, it will take more stress when compared to the lower surface. That means the subgrade, it will take relatively lower intensity of stress. But the overall crust thickness of pavement should be sufficient to keep the stresses or strains occurring within the allowable limits. So if you keep sufficient thickness of all the layers only, this will possible. This is possible. Otherwise, more stress will be induced onto the subgrade. So our main aim is here to reduce the stress coming onto the subgrade. Here subgrade is more important than all other layers because subgrade is a natural surface pavement, natural surface, natural ground. So we need to take care of the subgrade. Next, therefore, each layer of the pavement should be strong enough. So individually, if each layer is strong enough to resist the loads, then only this will be possible. And we should see that this is possible under all the conditions, like seasonal climatic conditions and temperature variations, anything it should withstand. Also coming to the structural behavior, the stress distribution patterns, service performance, resistance to deformation due to repetitive action of loads under the influence of variable environmental conditions. They all depend on type of material used for construction, the method of compaction, quality control due to construction, failure criteria, and all these things. So you need to take care about the structural function of the pavement. Next, this one is already completed in the last class. Types of payments. So based on the materials used for construction, you have flexible payments, rigid payments, and composite payments. Composite payments means they may be containing some layers of flexible and some layers of rigid payments altogether in a combined form. So let us see the features of flexible payments first. You all know that they consist of multiple layers. In the last class, I have told you the difference between flexible and rigid payments. Here, once again, let's go through this. They consist of multiple layers constructed using granular materials. This you need to remember. Constructed using granular materials. These are constructed to serve in all weather conditions. Okay, and its top layer is constructed to be impervious by using different types of binders. So if you use binders, what will happen? The top layer will be impervious. That means water will not be allowed to pass through the pavement surface. So what kind of binders we can use here means we can use binders such as bitumen, tar, modified bituminous materials, etc. So such layers we call them as bound layers and they resist loads by developing tensile stresses at its bottom fibers. And they are also called as unbound layers. So these are stabilized either by mechanical action or treated with additives by which the unbound layers possess very low tensile strength. And they are constructed as subbase and base forces since they lie under the impervious surface force. So if you observe here, this is the cross-sectional details of